Hi, Matthew. Hi.
You-
Good afternoon. I'm good. How are you?
All good, all good.
Good.
Where are you
Thank you.
based?
I'm currently in Malaysia, KL.
In Malaysia. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you for agreeing to do this call, Matthew. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being a part of Fortinus Events Podcast executive interview. Okay, let's go. All right, Matthew, I want to know more about what inspired you to take the leap and start your own company in the logistics and supply chain. Like, I want to know the story of how Logiseye came. Like, what was your thought process when all of this happened?
Okay. So I spent almost 30 years in logistics so far. So it's a very long experience. And out of that, almost 26 years, I worked with the world leader in logistics, that is DHL. Now, I had an opportunity to be a panel speaker with one of the major management institutes, that is SP Jain, which was on a subject, the maturity level of digital transformation in supply chain. And that's the time I spent a lot of time to deep dive into the technology side. And I found that the digital adoption or digital transformation, which can bring or which can basically transform the way the freight procurement and the freight management, payment, etc., are done. And what is actually in technology as of now is nowhere. Okay. So I thought of spending a bit of time to deep dive into that. I come out with quite a few solutions. I discussed with quite a few colleagues and industry veterans, and we found that there is a huge scope for it. So logistics, when I started in 93, basically, for example, when you look at the freight procurement, they used to use faxes and
Yes.
Lotus 123, if you remember. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't.
So that was technology at that time. And if you look at now, instead of faxes, they use emails and Excel. This is technology for, you can say, 80%, 85% of the people, the logisticians in the world. And technology is rapidly changing, and of course it's difficult, or it may take time to get the digital adoption that we target to achieve, but we have to start somewhere. Okay.
Correct.
And if you see the new generation, they are hesitant to work even in logistics because of all these complexities. So our target is basically to simplify the complete processes, add value, bring more efficiency, which ultimately will solve some of the decade-old problems in logistics. So it's basically passion for the industry, my interest into innovation and problem solving, and I want to do something different to this world. How it is done for several decades. Bring something that is new, which can make the life of logisticians easy. If I give you a little bit background, when I named the solution initially, we called it Logi Life, because we thought we should give life to the logisticians. But then we enhanced the scope of the project. We named it as Logiseye because it has to give a complete eagle eye into the complete logistics process. So that's how Logiseye has come.
That's a very interesting take. Okay, can we talk about the core services like Logi Beat and Logi Quote? Can we talk about how what they offer and how these solutions are addressing the long-standing challenges in logistics sector?
So we started with the procurement side of the challenges in logistics. So if you look at the way how logistics procurement is handled, normally the major customers, they may have a contracted rate with the customers or the freight forwarders. But then managing that contracted rates is again an Excel driven process where they have a manual RFI process, then an RFQ process. And each major customer will come out with a different Excel template to manage the freight procurement. And it takes months. So anything you can say from 2 months to 4 months is the timeline they used to take for managing an RFQ. But Unfortunately, with COVID, the pandemic, almost all the carriers and freight forwarders cancelled all the contracted rates. So ultimately, customers went into the old scenario of spot rates. Now, what happens is managing the spot rates is a big challenge because each forwarder submit the rate in a different format. It takes anything from 2 days to 7 days to get a response to the rate request. None of these rates are comparable because each one follow a different format. So it becomes a big pain for the customers to get comparable rates. And then again, once you get the rate, you need to get into manual negotiations for the freight. So what we thought is, why don't we simplify this process? And just to give a comparison, you remember how people used to go to travel agencies and airlines to get the booking of airline tickets or hotel bookings, when they have to travel, and see how it has simplified with Skyscanner or ClearTrip now or Booking.com. Okay. So we thought, why don't we bring efficiency into the process through technology? So we launched these two products. So one is Logibid. So Logibid is a reverse auction platform wherein, currently most of the companies, they stick to 3 or 4 freight forwarders because of this complex manual process. So here they can have a very large number of freight forwarders invited into the platform. So you can either go with your own qualified suppliers, because major companies, they may have their pre-qualification criteria, so they prefer to go with their forwarders. That is one option, but they don't have to stick to 3 or 4. They can go for even 10 suppliers, 15 suppliers. You invite them into the bidding. You set the deadline when they need to submit the price. You are sharing all the shipment information. Now, these freight forwarders will submit all the prices in the same format. So all the rates are comparable. Good thing is, when they submit the rate, they will know what is their ranking. And they have a room to modify the price or change the price any number of times so that they become number one, and that improves their opportunity to win that business. Okay. So rather than just submitting a rate and then waiting for the feedback at the end, whether they won or lost that business, they get visibility. Okay. And based on their pricing guidelines, they can manage the pricing. So it becomes easy. So for customer, it's very easy. All the rates comes, same format. They get the most competitive rate. And more important is, there is total transparency. So there is no hidden charges or, under the table deals, nothing. Everything will be totally transparent in terms of supplier selection and the supplier rates.
Interesting. All right. Have you received any kind of feedback of your clients that, you've improved their procurement process? Have you received any feedbacks from your clients?
Yeah. See, basically, through the freight procurement process, what it is improving, one is the cost efficiency that it is bringing. Okay. And our customers, they saved anything from 5% to 24%. So we had cases where they saved 24%. Now, traditionally, what happens is, when you stick with the 2 or 3 forwarders, initially they will give you very competitive price, but gradually, they increases the price, and you will believe that this is the best rate that is available in the market. And unless and until a freight forwarder mess up a shipment really badly, you are not looking at adding one more supplier. So here you have large number of suppliers and there is a competition that is happening. So each one is competing to win the business. So customers are saving substantially. So we had cases where somebody has saved even 24% on the freight charges. So imagine, it's a big saving. Now, in terms of time, compared to, a day, 2 or more to get the rate, Logicode is giving them rate instantly. So to search and get a rate, it takes 30 seconds. So that is a huge time savings what they have achieved. And then the full process is automated. So there is a full workflow that is automated here. So there is no need of going through your manual process. We have documentation that is attached to the system directly. So any shipment, any point of time, you can have the documents available. You can have communication with the freight forwarder through the system. So any communication pertaining to the shipment will be available at shipment level. No need to run through thousands of emails. And then the transparency, this has brought more trust into the whole process. So otherwise, the logisticians were looked with a suspected eye, here you get total transparency in the process. So it's a big advantage, and we are getting very very good feedback from them. And good thing is, we are not asking them to pay for anything, because here they don't have to make a down payment to get our solution. Okay, we have a freemium model that we are offering to them. They can experience the system, they can see what is the cost saving. Now, when we give the price, they understand that they are not paying anything from their pocket. What cost savings they are getting, they are just sharing a percentage of the cost saving. So maybe they are retaining 80% of the cost saving and they are paying us 20% of that. So it's a win-win.
Understand? Okay, you've given us a successful case study, right? What would you say is a challenge with Logiseye?
For Logiseye,
Yes.
see, digital adoption is a big headache, because especially logisticians, many of them still prefer to work on the traditional way. They don't believe that technology can add value. Okay, but it is changing. Okay, but especially people in the very old age group, they still want to continue with their traditional way of thinking, working. They believe that the relationship is the only way they can get a shipment out. So this is the mindset, and that is what has to change.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna butt in with extra questions. You mentioned technology, right? But we are at the era where we are going towards AI. And if in logistics and industry, if technology is hard enough, how are we going towards AI?
Okay, so what we have done is, we brought an application called, one of our solution, which is a plugin solution based on market requirement, is Logiseye, which is artificial intelligence, business intelligence. So it's an AI ML enabled data analytics solution, wherein customers can get the complete supply chain intelligence through the system. So they don't have to. So if you look at major companies now, they may be managing maybe around anything between 10 to 20 different Excel trackers by different teams. For them to generate a report and take a decision, it becomes very difficult. Okay. Now, here advantage is we can connect this reporting tool to any kind of database, and you get, once we develop the dashboard, so it gives you two things. One, you can have all your standard dashboards, KPI reports, everything linked to the database, so that you get it instantly. You don't have to, every time run a report, make a PowerPoint presentation, nothing. You have the dashboard. If you have a meeting, you have to be there, and it's a couple of clicks. You want the figure as of to date, or if you want the figure for the month, or you want a comparison between year on year, it's a few clicks. So it becomes very very easy. It gives you predictive analytics, which is very good, because for example, just to give you a trend analysis to see how the freight is going to be in coming months. So you have shipments from Shanghai to Dubai, Jebel Ali, for example. You want to see how the freight is going to be over the next 6 months. Now, of course, the geopolitical scenarios and other things are different. So that is in nobody's control. But otherwise, based on the past trend, it can tell you how the trend is going to be, or you can get the predictive analytics. That is something. Plus, we have the AI-enabled chatbot available, wherein, for example, you have a shipment. Now, you don't have to even log in into the system and look for the status of the current shipment. You can either talk to the chatbots, or you can give the arrow wheel number to the chatbot. So long as you are a registered user and you are logged in into the system, it will give you what is the latest update of the shipment. So otherwise, you will be searching for the shipment, going to tracking. There's nothing. Similarly, it can send you automated alerts coming to you whenever there is an exception. And then the predictive analytics, if this AI tool, the data analytics tool, you can link it to any of your database, whether it is your sales data, your production data, you name it. And you can get the predictive analytics, how the market is going to be in the coming months.
So it is good to have that. All right. Okay, Matthew, let's say, given your passion for innovation and budget isn't a question at all, what would you do with that? Like, what would you pursue?
You mean as a new project, or as a new solution?
As a new, be creative. It can be within the logistics procurement, or it can be within Logiseye. Like, would you come up with a product for Logiseye or for procurement? What would you do?
See, we have a few additional solutions in the pipeline. We are actually on the verge of launching our very unique transport management system, TMS. This is mainly focusing on multinational companies, Fortune 500 companies, major local companies. Okay, this is something already in place within the budget. Okay, and we are expecting to launch that before end of this month, hopefully last quarter. Now, and that is something very unique because when you look at major companies, their freight procurement is very complex. They have prepaid shipments where shipper is paying for the freight. They have contracted rates with the carriers. They have contracted rate with freight forwarders. Plus they have ad hoc rates. Now we are looking at bringing everything under one platform to simplify the whole process, so they don't have to look at various things. And freight audit integrated, freight payment including trade finance integrated, complete electronic document management integrated, the full track and trace integrated with the freight forwarders and carriers, and with a neutral platform. They can get the carrier schedules within the system, plus interfacing with their ERP systems or WMS systems. So this can act as the go-to platform to handle everything. So this is something we have already under development and coming up soon.
It's in the pipeline.
It's in the pipeline.
Now
we have another two major solutions what we wanted to launch, but unfortunately I cannot give you much.
It's fine. Yeah, I get it.
Because competition how it is. But one of that is going to be first of its kind in the world. Okay, first of its kind in the world. And of course we started some discussions with a few investors. Touch wood, if everything goes well, we will look at 2025 end for that solution.
Nice. Okay. Mathew, earlier on you mentioned competitors, right? What would you say the difference is between yours and your competitor?
See, when you look at some of the competitors, they focus mainly on a few trade lanes. So, for example, China to US or China to Europe. Okay. Now, either they have a marketplace or some of them has a TMS. But many of these TMS solutions are not an automated workflow management like what we are planning. It's a post-event data entry system for reports. That is not going to add much value. Okay. Because everything you need to manually enter into the system, like you are entering into an Excel sheet. So instead of making a report from the slicer, you are getting the report from the. This is not what we are looking at. Okay. So we wanted to embrace technology, the latest technology into the system, which will really add value to the users. And at the end, rather than doing something in Excel and something in a post data entry screen, it's not going to add. So we have to simplify the thing so that customers, we get digital adoption from the customer. We make their life easier. Okay. And then they have a life. As I said in the beginning, they have a life. Now, if you can have any digital solution, unless and until you can have the digital adoption from the users, you will be failed. So this is where, and I know companies who install the TMS systems from some of the big players, they're not even using it because they don't see that this data entry is what they need. Okay, and they love our system. So ultimately, we want to bring a real change using the latest technology that will add value, improve their efficiency on one side. They can use their time for more productive things, not for the daily repetitive things. I have people, I know the logistics managers spend days at the end of every month to prepare manual reports. If I give my solution, they don't have to spend, even 5 minutes in a month, to run through the report. So we wanted to simplify the things using the latest technology and give the latest and use these technologies to them. So this is what make the change. And we configured the system in such a way that, for example, our TMS system and bidding solution, it can be used by any customer anywhere in the world. So it's not that I have to do a lot of customization, and the implementation is very fast. So, for example, my Logi EBIT and Logi code for a small medium customers, it takes maximum 2 hours to implement. Okay. If it is a big customer with over 10,000, 15,000 shipments with offices in say around 10 countries, it may take 2 weeks to configure everything, but maximum is 2 weeks. So, which is a much faster adoption. Now, and good thing is this is the different solutions. So we have a total of 5 different solutions as of now, other than the TMS that is coming in now. This is on a modular basis. So which solution they want, they can opt for it. If they want to take all the different solutions, we have a special combo offer. So they can get very competitive rates and take everything under one platform. So that makes the difference.
Interesting take, Matthew. Okay, one last question for you. Finally, as a leader with decades of experiences, what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs that is looking to make their mark in logistics?
That's a very good question. See, when you look at the new gen, new gen entrepreneurs, they all think that, a startup will be successful in few months and they can reap the benefit, immediately. That is not the case. As I said, it's a marathon. You have a long journey. Okay. Now, logistics and supply chain is very complex. And this is the reason you don't see so many startups in this vertical, because you see a lot of startups in most of the other vertical, whether it is fintech or you name it. But here in logistics, you see very limited digital solutions. Now, most important is the new entrepreneurs. They have to have a good knowledge on the industry. One of the biggest challenge in logistics technology is that people who knows logistics, they are so poor in terms of technology. Okay. And then for the technology people, it's so difficult to understand logistics and develop the solution. So, whatever scope you give, when they develop, it will be totally different. This is a very big challenge. So most important, anybody going into logistics and supply chain, they need to spend time to learn technology, number one, learn logistics and supply chain, number one. Number two, things are changing. It's not like the old days where it's, it's like the old mantras and tantras where the guy passes on the information to the next generation. So earlier logistics was like this. There was no institute which was teaching logistics and supply chain. So I am in logistics for 10 years. I have a new guy coming in. I pass on my knowledge to him. He pass on to the next person. So by the time what I know versus what the fourth person know, he will be knowing only 25% of the things. Yeah. This is a big challenge. Okay, but then gradually through experience he learned. But here it's very important that they have to have either a strong person with full logistics knowledge to support them, and they themselves should spend some time to learn logistics. That is number one. Number two, things are changing, and the traditional way of managing logistics through these manual processes, this cannot continue forever. Okay. So they need to embrace technology. If they are coming into logistics and supply chain, they need to embrace technology, and especially latest technology, and see how this can add efficiency, reduce the cost, bring transparency, enhance the visibility, and get, to empower the guys for data-driven decision making. These are all key. Okay. So they have to be ready for that. And then, of course, they have to have the passion for it. Unless and until you have a passion, they cannot be successful. Now, as a startup, one thing they have to be very careful is anybody can have any ideas. Now, they can put the ideas into practice, but they have to do the preliminary check to see is their solution solving a real problem of the customer, number one. Okay. And number two, are the customers ready to pay for the solution? You can have the best solution unless and until somebody is ready to pay for the solution. You can spend the money, but you will never make the money. So I will focus on these few points, basically. Embrace technology, have good knowledge on logistics, and be ready to face all the challenges.
That's a good take, Matthew. That's a good take. Okay. We are at the end of our podcast. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for being part of it. It was very insightful. I appreciate it, Matthew.
Thank you very much, Shrida. It was a pleasure. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that would be all for today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and stay tuned for more exciting episodes featuring industry leaders from around the globe. Until next time, stay curious and keep innovating.